Hello, my fellow YouTubers. This is Roy back again. Who we got on the lens? Alrighty, let's get this party started. So, tonight's an interesting topic, and I think this takes us into the journey over here with Mr. Leedskalnin and myself. Let's take a look at on that piece of wood there. I just found a picture of that. It has an indentation cut out, carved out in the wood. The shape of a dumbbell. So we're going to have to investigate and look on his wall and the pictures I have up on his wall and see what's up there in the shape of a dumbbell. Very interesting. So that block of wood off to the side. So if the front here, and that's the block of wood we'd be looking at, it's the one that's off to the side there because the pipe's back in the corner. You see that? So it'd be that perspective. So you know, that pipe's from the east. That one offset a little bit north. This one here south. And I don't have a west pipe. So we will have a west pipe being put in. Kudos up on the pipe that goes west. So here we are. So we're drying it out. I got my fan on. It is looking good. Drying out, turning white. Got all the internal neutrals exposed a lot more than Ed. I brought the concrete all the way up versus Ed brought them to the bottom of this. And let's get into an experiment. I see some peeps are jumping on. I kind of want to hold off a little bit till we get a few more, but we're going to do some cool experiments. First one we're going to start off with is these, there's a bolt there. Oh, I got my boy Marker in the house. Yeah, man, leave your comments. Love your comments. So we got a bolt there. We got a bolt going there. And we got a bolt going there. And we got a bolt going there. And those obviously represent poles. So the center of this, one thing I'm going to show you guys, which is pretty clever of Ed, this insert in the center has these two pins. This is the original flywheel that I'm using. It's that thick of steel. The whole thing is so solid. And it's got these two pins. And I noticed that with Ed's wheel down at Coral Castle. You can pull the whole wheel off. All you had to do is disconnect the centerpiece, and the centerpiece goes down on those two pins just like that. I'm not going to beat it down right now because I'm still kind of got a lot more work to do. But you can see how Ed was so practical that he pulled, you know, he was able to, he said he had 10 machines now, guys. So he was able to pull the machines on and off by different ones. And you know, if you look back at any of my old videos, you'll see I had one of these wheels. I was just toying with the magnets, and I had like two up, and then I had two facing in. So like the magnets were like V-shaped facing inward, and there was two facing outward. It was 4 high. And didn't know much about anything. Not saying I do now, but pretty radical. Hey, Marker, this right here, you know, I couldn't lift it. I'll tell you that. This thing is pretty heavy. It's got all the concrete in the side here. It's still drying. Concrete up the sides. The key thing here, I think, is with the concrete, it locks it in, because when you're dealing with this amount of iron and that's magnetized, it's going to want to move, and it's always moving. And if this had any strong pulse about it, it's going to pull itself to this, and this is going to pull out. If it ain't there, it's over here. If it ain't here, it's over there. If it ain't there, it's over here. So shit's always moving. So what I noticed, all right, we got some peeps on here tonight. So what I noticed is that as you're doing experiments, you know, the thing is starting to wobble on me, because we're pulling stuff in and out. And the stronger everything is getting here, that you've seen that we created perpetual motion. And the thing that I've realized could be happening is from having magnets that are not neodymium, that are bar magnets. I don't think they can even make them where they bend them like this and have them. If we could have the strength of this, that would be really good. But the fact that you can add strength to these and they snap back to what they're naturally designed for is kind of taking Mother Nature and throwing a little zippity doodah in a tornado, and all of a sudden it's 5 times the size, and then all of a sudden it's back to the 1 size. And what made it different from being 1 size to the 5 times is that there's a resonance thing going on. So what we experienced with my video that I just, not the one I just posted, but the one with perpetual motion, is the fact that with the 14 gauge wire, the red wire that was on here, was experimental to see if this would, off a capacitor, and what did I use? This capacitor right here. So this is a nice chubby right here, 6,000 microfarads. Pretty good capacitance, 6,000 microfarads. It'll give a nice kick, okay? And it's 50 volts. All right, 65 surge. So when you turn the wheel and it builds up in there, and if you can get it to release as a tank circuit from that capacitor to the field, which would be these field coils. That's where Ed says, imagine having a wheel turning with many coils around it. Well, there you go. I always thought outwardly, like the coils are out here. No, the coils are inside. So I'm just saying, what we witnessed here, it ticked. And when I turned it one way, it stopped itself and kicked itself. So perpetual, it's going. It's going. So now the key is, wheels set, it ain't going to move anymore. I got it, the variance between all these here is good. And you know, the reason I just posted this video right now, this is crazy. I'm going to tell you a true story. I just came over here and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to show this, I'm going to show that on the video and show this. And I spun the wheel. And I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm just thinking and thinking. Time's going by, and the wheel is still going, never slowed down. So I'm going to see if it does it again. I'm just going to grab it. And I have these hooked up together, and they're going into a multiplier, voltage multiplier, and going back into itself. So coming out of the multivoltiplier and going back into itself. Here we go, guys. It's taking forever. to slow down. It's its own energy that's giving it a little bit push. Still, look at this freaking thing, guys. This is crazy. This is crazy. I'm going to show you a little secret. Watch it stop. The secret's this. It's a reed switch. The reed switch is giving me make and break contact on a signal. So the reed switch itself is controlling what's going on with these guys. There's just a basic reed switch. There's no what you call it? I don't need any relay switch or nothing. Listen, you hear that thing kicking? It's computing the coils from that pulse. That thing is killing it, dude. Look at it. It is freaking running on its own almost. This is what got me thinking. All right, so here you go. So I had the red wire on there, and nah, I knew it wasn't going to do it. But the purpose is that looking at magnets a different way. Now, these magnets are making magnetic flux, which is the back EMF of this. Let's step back 1 second, okay? So the reaction between this metal and this metal is, because this is magnetic, is wanting to fill, and then as it pulls away, we'll say destroy. All right, that's pretty funny there. So when it's pulling away, it's destroying the energy that's in there, and it's pulling it away, and then it changes. So when this is taking place here, the magnets to the metal are that MIT or a couple different people done the experiment where you take the Linden jar and you charge it, but you're charging it with high voltage. And let's go over this, because we're not dealing with high voltage here. And we can, because Ed had the buzz coil and different things in the Model T4 to step it up for the coil system. So he had the capability. So we're not saying he didn't. But what I'm trying to explain right now is you have your magnets to your metal. You have the coils here. The coil, because the MIT video that I've seen shows that all three components, once it's been charged, all three components separately cannot do anything to you. You could touch them. But when you mix them back together, all of a sudden the energy reappears. And what's going on is it shows you that the metal is the mover and the dielectric is the holder. So here in a coil, we have another metal, just like aluminum, copper. But it has this material that's around it, which is a kind of a shielding, and it's a dielectric. Now, that dielectric in this wire is holding the charge. So when this magnet is approaching, it's filling up the coil, okay? And then as soon as the coil is filled, or this is filled at its point, it's going to pull back. And all of a sudden, you're going to have a whip back snap. That whip back snap is where the release is into, through the dielectric where the storage was charged when it was coming in. and comes out of that dielectric and goes into the copper wire. So here, let's back it up. The video I made earlier, okay, which is the same concept. So here you go. You got a magnet. Does it hold capacitance? Anybody out there going to comment? Hopefully it's not time relay, because I don't want to wait too long for comments. But last time, I'm going to hold off for a second here. And I want to see a comment. So, do magnets have a dielectric property? We're talking, one, they are metal. MIT shows us the metal moves the material. Two, it's the dielectric properties that hold the charge. So how does a magnetic metal hold its charge? Give me some comments. I want some comments, guys. I want you to talk to me. Tell me what you're thinking. Well, when you say everything does to a certain extent, I know that's true, but that is dabbling into electrostatics in a sense to where everything is energy, meaning all matter is energy. And all matter being energy, but it has protons. These things, we say there are protons, and we say they're lazy, but they don't move. So basically here, matter itself has a property about it that says, here I am, deal with me. And this is the things I'm bringing along with me. So it brings a bunch of stuff along with it. And these things could be shared or energized in some other way. For instance, if you walk across the floor, you can build up a charge. If you walk across the floor and touch something, that's an opposite charge because you built up the charge, which normally everything is grounded. A house is grounded, everything in it is grounded, everything is one energy. You're walking on the ground, you are grounded yourself, so basically nothing will happen. All of a sudden, you walk on a brand new Trex board deck, which I have, and this just happened to me not too often ago. And all of a sudden, every time I walk across the deck, swiping my feet by it because it's a plastic composite deck, every time I touched the glass or the screen door, it would shock me. And I had to work all day like that. I loved it. Made me excited. But it also made me think about this, that everything that's grounded is balanced. That's the thing with matter. Matter has to be balanced, and it's harmless. But when you unbalance it, it becomes a beast. Such as iron. Iron. I was told and actually read about where iron, atomically, the power, the enormous amount of power that an iron had in it itself, that it would be several nuclear bombs, like Superman strength, iron. So it goes to show that matter, which is everything in ground that we have as matter, is balanced out. But how do we tap into that balanced energy? How do we tap into energy that's, we're walking on it and we're balanced to it? How do we unbalance it? Well, here you go, guys. Let's move into it. Well, Ed was working on the mindset that atoms had a nuclei or neutron and had north and south, basically. And the one that was coming out of South Pole was north magnets. And the ones coming out of the North Pole was south magnets. South Pole being positive and North Pole being negative. So he was saying that you would have a nuclei and several nuclei. He didn't get into too deep. But what he did mention is that everything is sort of, in a sense, like an atom, like this wheel here. This wheel, in a sense, is atom-like. You got a bunch of moving particles along the outside. We got a neutral in the center, which let's go there. So the neutral, cool thing about it, let me grab my compass, is let's take this out. The cool thing about the center is neutral, okay? And that north is true north. It just, as soon as you put it in here, it goes to true north. Now these rods I put in here, I got them leaning against magnets, okay? And that one is north. That one's south. That one's north. And that one's south. So I split on purpose, like a cross. If you were looking from that pole to that pole, you're looking at a straight line and a cross. I did that on purpose because I believe that every time that this pole with the east, when it's lined up east, and that pole lined up with west over there, there's going to be a certain pickup this thing is going to get. Just from the air. We'll just go there. The thing I want to show you here, which is cool, that I was able to figure out through certain experiments that I didn't post to you guys, because I do so many experiments. You guys only see a smidgen of what I'm actually doing. Let me grab a neodymium magnet. You're going to love this. You ready for this? This is cool shit. So all the magnets on the outside are prized, okay? The insides are neutral. I just showed you that when you stick a magnet, look at the magnet on the bottom. When you stick a magnet in the neutral area, okay, everything's being compressed in. So I believe that I'm so blown away by it turning on its own. I believe that we can build a compression on the inside. And why did I mix north-south, north-south, not knowing what eds are down Coral Castle, and put it in cement? Because this is my wheel. And I know right now you need one chasing the other for movement. I know this. You can't just put a bunch of salves in there and think there's going to be movement. You'd have to introduce maybe a strong magnet field coming down. But that maybe that hook with the U-shape in it has something. But let's just show this experiment. So where did I put that compass? Okay, the compass is in the middle. So neodymium, we're going to stick right there. All right, compass to this one. So compass says that this one's south pole, okay? So that means I'm going to go to the compass, and let's go to this compass. And south, that's a south pole. This is cool stuff, guys. Watch this. So there's a north showing up. So that means that would make that south. So let's go south. So here we go. I got south pole. Now, if I take south pole on there and I touch it and pull it away like 3 or 4 times, okay? Now I'm going to put this magnet off to the side because this thing is like crazy strong. I got a loose one there. So now we're going to take the compass and come over here. Look, we got a north. So we reverse the pole in this. Even though this is leaning over here, I don't know what pole it is because I just did the wheel. I got to remark them. But it's now showing north pole. Now let's go back over to the magnet. I'll grab the other magnet that's there. And now with this magnet, let's go ahead and we got south pole. And that's the north pole it's showing. So let's go ahead and flip it to this being north, okay? So I'm going to go over here and touch it 3 times. Look, 1, twice, 3. So let me tell you what's going on. In the cement and with the iron, it's lining up the molecules in the cement into the iron. Now over here, look at this. It's not doing anything right now. We screwed that whole thing up. Let's go back to it now. Love it. All right, we ain't using that magnet because I can't get that apart. We'll use this one. So this is a south pole, and that is no pole. And let's see, let's put that right here. Maybe it'd be safe. So let's check this pole. That's a south pole, and that should be a north pole. So we're gonna put south pole magnets. There you, no, that's north. There's south. We're putting south pole magnet up to the bolt, okay? Let me get some good stick in there. So we're gonna pull away from the bolt, and we're lining up the molecules in the bolt through the concrete to the magnet in front of it, okay? Bam. So now we're gonna come back over here, and now we have north pole. Now we have south pole. Now we have north pole. Now we have south pole. Now you can reverse the magnets. To me, I'm still trying to understand how that this bolt and that magnet can be switched out like that. But it's going to take some time. So now let's move on to something that's really, really interesting. Is the fact that this capacitor dumps into the magnet. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go a little Wilhelm Reich. And when I say Wilhelm Reich, he was into Orgon energy, which is accumulator, which is a box of layers. And the layers in between itself would move the energy, which was Orgon energy, which was organic. And if you put inorganic in layers with organic material, that the inorganic would accumulate, and which would draw in the energy, and the inorganic metallics, which are metallics, would do both. They would draw in the energy, but they also would repel the energy. So that means if they draw the energy in, they wouldn't let it go back out. All right. So that's, to me, is Wilhelm Reich. That is the man who found out that materials on the periodic table reacted in this way, and this is great because now we can move energy around. We can use his mindset and say energy here, energy there, and all about what you put in there. And this is why we're talking about the dissecting of the capacitor, because here's a magnet. Okay, so you got a magnet. It's got a built-in storage of moving particles. Now, the moving particles, when they come close to in proximity of a still particle, meaning the other iron that's over here, they will react together and they will share. So if you think about sharing, that all these are connected together for starters, and these are isolated from top and bottom. So that means there's a iron storage, which is a big hole-sucking vortex going on in the center here. If this thing was spinning, it was spinning in a 2,000 RPM fashion. High speed, but it is a wheel bearing. So how fast are you driving your car for your wheel to be spinning 2,000 revolutions? Are you going 10 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour? Do the math, leave up to comment. So, with that being said, you got material Wilhelm Reich that has the energy stored in it, but it has issues. These issues, how we look at it. The issues are really not, it has issues, but we have issues with it. Because we could touch it, we could lick it, we could do anything we want with a magnet, but it doesn't shock us. But the key thing is that it takes it to make electricity. Well, okay, so it really doesn't take it They are magnets. Each one of these are magnets from Model T Ford. North, South Pole. Everyone, North, 12 Model T Ford, their charging system was 16 of these magnets, single layer. And they got some good strength to them. Especially these guys. They hold up anything. They got some great strength. Trying to think what else I got that'll stick to it. This is copper around here. I doubt it'll stick. It still sticks. So good magnets. These are all magnets. These are sturdy ass magnets. And that's why you're seeing when this wheel turns, just from reacting to the iron and the capacitance that's built up, which is the magnetic field that's built up in the coils going into a voltage multiplier and back into itself. You can see how a heavy wheel has no problem turning or stay turning. So back to, hey Marker, what's up, buddy? Hey Marker, thank you for your comments, man. You're leaving some great ones. You too, Tommy. You guys, man, love the comments. You know, this is open org thinking on this energy. It's more than Ed Leedskalnin. It's all of us open org thinking about how would you harness the ground's energy in a different way. It don't have to be so traditional how they do it. There's different ways of taking the energy and then converting it back in how we use it. So if you have high voltage and high static and static that we just discard, if you had a lot of it, how do you convert it into how we use power? That's the key. Not so much that it's discountable. Look at that wheel. So back to the magnets. So what I'm thinking out loud here is that if you were to put a shellac around the magnet, okay, based on the dissecting of the dielectric, that you need two metals and a dielectric and a voltage, okay? So if the magnet had a shellac around it, it itself, the shellac itself should be the dielectric. And then the magnet itself would be the iron that's already charged up. And then the coil that goes above it would be the mover of the energy, because the coil itself is the other combination of dielectric and conductor. So the coils up here should be 22 gauge wire, should be a lot of turns, and enough to create resistance. Now, resistance doesn't make dielectric, or resistance doesn't make capacitance, but resistance does create a low voltage place. And that's what we're dealing with, low voltage. I'm not going into any high voltage yet, but the low voltage, we're creating a place to where we can have a dielectric take a charge. Because the dielectric that charge needs, the charge that dielectric needs is a 1,000 volts at least. And we're not creating 1,000 volts. We're dealing with 28 volts, 60 volts. So how do we get that and capture that? So what you got to open your mind to is that you need a dielectric that's thinner than that dielectric. So this plastic here is the dielectric. And it's thick. It's thick. That thick. So if you would do paper film, you could take low voltage and make it spark plug like. You can make it, yes. And then you just do a small inductor and put coil around it and stick it in oil, just like this guy would be. That's got to be the best situation, is one of them old-fashioned car coils. Well, not so much a transformer, but the voltage multiplier using transistors really is the way to go. But without even using that yet, because we could step up the voltage, but the voltage being stepped up is the fact that these two are picking up the signal and they're controlling. Exhibits, what is that? What is that stuff? Using these as controllers, and then the voltage stepping up, and then it goes in the capacitor, which the capacitor takes it and makes it a static. Then that static is released into the wheel coils, which the wheel coils will be energized, which gets stronger, which in return start the process over. And the process is the fact that these pickup coils, based on that magnetism, yeah, it does, that this magnetism will be increased. So you're increasing the power. It's increasing its own power. And that's what we're looking to expand on right now. Because what you've seen when I did my other video with it turning on its own is that it couldn't build up enough capacitance in here. The wire needs more resistance. So this way, with more turns, so to build a magnetic field, increase the magnetic field, which would give this more oomph, which gives this more oomph, which gives the capacitor more oomph, which in turns, every time this is turning on, this is turning off. Every time this is turning off, this is turning on. So the relationship is basically LCR tank circuit. And we'll get into the R we just talked about, is the resistance that we're building up into the wire of the magnets. You guys, hopefully you appreciate this beautiful specimen. This thing, I'm just blown away. Look at this thing. I can't believe just how easy it turns. It's so heavy. It's freakishly heavy. Freakishly heavy. So what am I going to work on next? Build in aluminum spools. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to build aluminum spools for here, and I'm going to figure out what ohms of resistance. I'll figure out what the ohms are and what capacitance based on what we can produce in voltage. So we're going to go to numbers on this whole thing, because this is what's going to dictate exactly how this thing works for the masses. So we're going to start off with how strong the magnetic field is from the magnets itself. We'll do a pull strength on it, a test. And then we'll figure out, based on how many turns here and what resistance this wire has, and we'll figure that out and how many ohms it has. And then we'll take that and we'll chart that. And then we'll figure out what I need to build to match what this is producing in voltage and what I can step it up in voltage. And then the capacitance of the capacitor that I need to have a certain pressure, because it's the pressure of that capacitor that is going to be in relationship or resonance with the resistance of the wire that's in front of it here. And then we'll get into the Wilhelm Reich stuff, where we're moving energy from built in here through the aluminum. You guys, peace out. Leave your comments. Hopefully you enjoyed. Can't wait to talk more about it.